Mr. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, fellow members and most welcome guests. History is sometimes like an adventure story, worthy of Game of Thrones or Tolkien, with great kingdoms, empires, kings, and epic battles, and days where things change, and the fate of the destinies of entire countries is decided. 16th of November 1532 was one of these days, at the fulcrum of one of the greatest empires of the age, the Incan Empire of South America. It was on a field in Peru, Cajamarca, that Incan Emperor Atahualpa and Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro met. And this is the story of these days, as recounted by one of Francisco Pizarro's companions. On reaching the entrance to Cajamarca, we saw the camp of Atahualpa, Incan Emperor, at a distance of a league, in the skirts of the mountain. The Indians' camp looked like a very beautiful city. Until this, we had never seen anything like this in the Indies. It filled all of us Spaniards with fear and confusion, but we could not show any fear nor turn back. For if the Indians had sensed any weaknesses in us, even the Indians we were bringing with us as guide would have killed us. So we made a good show of spirits. After carefully observing the towns and tents, we descended into the valley and entered Cajamarca. We talked a lot among ourselves about what to do. All of us were full of fear because we were so few in numbers and we had penetrated so far into a land where we could not hope to receive reinforcements. Few of us slept that night, and we kept watch in the square of Cajamarca, looking at the campfires of the Indian army. It was a frightening sight. The governor's brother estimated the numbers of Indian soldiers at 40,000, but he was telling a lie just to encourage us, for there were actually more than 80,000 Indians. The governor concealed these troops around the square at Cajamarca, dividing the cavalry into two portions. In like manner, he divided the infantry. At the same time, it ordered 3 infantrymen with trumpets to a small fort in the plaza, and to station themselves there with a small piece of artillery. When all the Indian and Atahualpa's wisdom had entered the plaza, the governor would give a signal to fire the gun, and the trumpets should sound. And at the sound of the trumpets, the cavalry should dash out of the large court where they were waiting, hidden in readiness. At noon, Atahualpa began to draw up his men and to approach. Soon we saw the entire plain full with Indians, halting periodically to wait for more Indians who kept filing out of the camp behind them. Atahualpa came in a very fine litter with the ends of its timbers covered in silver. 80 lords carried it atop their shoulders. The litter was lined with parrot feathers of many colors and decorated with plates of gold and silvers. These Indian squadrons began to enter the plaza to the accompaniment of great songs, and thus entering, they occupied every single part of the plaza. In the meantime, all of us Spaniards were waiting ready in the courtyard, full of fear. Many of us urinated without noticing it, out of sheer terror. Governor Pizarro now sent Friar Vicente de Valverde to go and speak to Atahualpa, and to require Atahualpa, in the name of God and of the King of Spain, that Atahualpa subject himself to the law of our Lord Jesus Christ, and to service of His Majesty the King of Spain. Advancing with a cross in one hand and the Bible in another, and going amongst the Indian troops up to the place where Atahualpa was, the friar addressed him. Atahualpa asked for the book, that he might look at it, and the friar gave it to him closed. Atahualpa did not know how to open the book, and the friar extended his arm to do so, when Atahualpa, in great anger, gave him a blow on the arm. Then he opened it himself, and with astonishment at the letters and paper, he threw it away from him 5 or 6 spaces, his face a deep crimson. The friar then returned to Pizarro, shouting, "Come out, Christians! Come at these enemy dogs who reject the things of God! That tyrant has thrown my book of holy law to the ground. Did you not see what happened? Why remain polite and servile towards this overproud dog when the plains are full of Indians? March out against him, for I absolve you." The governor then gave the signal. The gun was fired, and at the same time the trumpets were sounded, and the armored Spanish troops, both cavalry and infantry, sallied forth out of their hiding places, straight into the mass of Indians. We at last rattled on the horses to terrify the Indians. The booming of the guns, the blowing of the trumpets, and the rattle on the horses threw the Indians into panicked confusion. The Spaniards fell upon them and cut them to pieces. The Indians were so filled with fear that they climbed on top of one another, forming mounds, and suffocated each other. The cavalry rode them down. The infantry made so good an assault on those that remained, that in a short time most Indians were put to sword. The governor himself took his sword and dagger, entered the thick of the Indians with the Spaniards who were with him, and with great bravery reached Atahualpa's litter. He fearlessly grabbed Atahualpa's left arm, but he could not pull Atahualpa out of his litter, because he was elevated up so high. Although we killed the Indians who held the litter, others at once took their place and held it aloft. And in this manner we spent a long time overcoming and killing the Indians. Finally, 7 or 8 Spaniards on horseback, spurred on their horses, rushed upon the litter from one side, and with great effort they heaved it over on its side. In that way, Atahualpa was captured. The Indians carrying the litter and those escorting Atahualpa never abandoned him. All died around him. The panic-stricken Indians remaining in the square, terrified at the firing of the gun and at the horses, something they had never seen before, tried to flee from the square by knocking down a stretch of wall and running out onto the plain outside. Or cavalry jumped the broken wall and charged out into the plain, shouting, "Catch those with the fancy clothes! Don't let any escape! Spare them!" And so, 168 Spaniards, facing off 80,000 Incans, wrote history. The great Incan empire that had built the great Andean road and farmed the ant, this was no more. In its place was the Spanish Empire that stretched from Castilla to Lima and to Las Islas Filipinas, and with it a new civilization was born, the Hispanic civilization. So Toastmasters.